Babs Lyfe. Welcome to the Underground Society Podcast, man.
What is up, Justin, my man? I'm excited to do this. Good, dude. Doing great. I'm pumped to do this, to say the least.
We've been trying to make this happen for like months now, so it's finally happening.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you had to deal a little bit with my unorganizedness during my move and everything, and then we had just unfortunate technical difficulties. When
it happens, man. Part of the game. But I'm glad we're here, and I'm glad we're able to get it done today. Why don't we start off the podcast with just giving me a little background of yourself, how you kind of got into the EDM industry and all that kind of stuff, and what you do.
Yeah, I mean, went to my first festival on a whim. I've told this story on other podcasts and on my own, and I basically, Sunset Music Festival was my first festival. I went in 2017 and was just hooked. But the story is really funny because me and my buddy that day, it was the day 2 of the festival, and it's on a Sunday, and we were doing nothing, and we just had like summer class homework to do, and like I think we went to lunch that day, and I was like, we're sitting at lunch eating, and I'm like, dude, let's go to SMF. He's like, what? And neither of us, we're like not festival goers, we're not ravers at all. I'm like, let's go check it out, let's do it. He's like, well, I got some work I need to do, but like, okay. And we ran home, we like knocked out our assignments that we had to do, and then we were on the Craigslist and all these places trying to find tickets like last minute. I said, you know what, screw it, let's just drive over, because we lived 30 minutes from it. And I was like, let's just drive over, we'll find tickets there, I bet. So we like go over there. Sure enough, we find tickets. Some guy, we got them for $60 a piece, standing out front, just $60 a piece, and sent it and went in, met some friends, and one of the best nights. I mean, to this day, it's one of my best memories, one of my best nights, and we just had a phenomenal time, and I was hooked after that, just hooked.
Usually it's like that first time, and you're like, okay, I want more of this.
100%. And I had a surprisingly decently good lineup. I'm way more into melodic stuff and whatnot, and so I got Illenium for my first time, Above and Beyond, and then there were a few hard artists mixed in there, Snails, Yellow Claw for trap, but overall, like getting to see Illenium for the first time, and then Above and Beyond was like, this is amazing. Like, I'm not gonna. I see you wearing a Seven Lions hat. I know you're very much into the Ophelia thing. Yeah, definitely my newest craze, and I don't see that going away anytime soon. Definitely I had to rep something. Yeah. I had to rep some type of EDM merch today for the episode. So
awesome,
yes,
man. Well,
big Seven Lions fan.
When did you then start your page, and what kind of prompted you to go from falling in love with the scene, going to festivals and stuff, to okay, now I actually want to like have my own like almost company within this industry and try and start like my own personality online and stuff.
Yeah, it's I always liked posting to social media, but I had no direction, no idea. And it was 2019, fall of 2019, around like August, September, and my buddies that I work with now that do the shoes that you see behind me had started their own company, and they were doing content. And he was like, you should do content. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I was like, what? And he's like, he put me on to like Gary Vee and some of those people. And, but he was the driving force that really got me to like start doing it. And, the idea was originally though, I was like, I'm going to these events, and I was like, at 2019, I was starting to ramp up how many events I was going to. And so the original thought was going to these events and covering them, and it was really just to go and try to get a name for myself and go for free, to be honest, and cover them and whatnot. But then it just started evolving to more, and I don't even know, many people might not know this, my page didn't even start with my face in it at all. It was just me posting rave videos, and it for me, it's been a very slow progression. I had no one in my area, in my friend group, that was doing content besides these guys that were doing shoes. Yeah. So even like talking to them about like raving stuff, they're like, we'd have no idea what you're talking about. And so I had no like what's the term? Like I had no like group of content creators to work with, and so a lot of it's been trial and error these past coming up on 4 years now. It's been a lot of trial and error, and like we've gotten this far trial and error, and definitely see future things coming. We're starting to get better systems and stuff like that, which I'm sure you experience yourself with growing things. It's just like the growing pains, and if you don't have anyone to like bounce ideas off of or learn from, you're just kind of like lost for a bit until you see something or someone finally does reach out. And I've had people that reached out, and I don't want to talk and babble on too long, but they've definitely helped me and been very instrumental in like shaping me into starting to go on camera, then starting to vlog, and then starting the podcast. Like, they've been very instrumental in helping me do that, and to this day I can't thank them enough.
Yeah, that was kind of a similar situation for me. Originally, it was like fitness stuff that I was into, and then I got more into like, okay, where do I don't really want to go that direction with like career wise, but I knew that I didn't want to like have like a traditional 9 to 5, and content creation was always something that I loved, like watching, for one, that got me into a lot of vloggers and stuff on YouTube, got me into it. And then but when I first started, it's kind of the same thing where it's just like I didn't have anyone to like, there was no content creators around me really, but I was just into it, and I was like, nah, I'll give it a shot. Why not? So now I have an editor, and it's the two of us that are a part of the Underground Society brand company or whatever you want to call it. And now it's such a game changer now that I have someone who actually like I can bounce ideas off of and stuff.
It's so funny you're saying that. I mean, besides like having a group of people and individuals you can like reach out to and say, hey, what do you think about this, blah blah blah, but like someone helping you with it is also super instrumental. And that's been my biggest like thing that's holding me back, I feel like, and I've kind of realized that, and that's been my big thing for 2023 is like, I'm gonna find someone that I like. I've been looking at it since 2022, like midway through 2022, but I don't want just like anybody. Like, you're just as an integral part of what I'm doing as being on camera, but like I need help with the back end stuff because that's where I fall flat. Like, So yeah, 100%. But it's instrumental, and I think I'm finally getting those ducks lined up in a row, and I'm excited to see what this next year will have with content creation and stuff.
What was your original goal when you first started? What did you like want to accomplish with getting into being more on camera and stuff? What was your like direction with all that?
That's so funny. Is like I said, originally it was just like, oh, let me get like maybe I get to go to festivals for free, right? And eventually it did turn into kind of what you just stated about not having to work a 9 to 5, like using this as a way to propel future endeavors and not make enough to where I don't have to work a 9 to 5 would be ideal. And that definitely started to become the main driving force of doing things more and more, especially with the podcast. I mean, I love doing the podcast, and unfortunately it took a back seat last year, but like it's something I just purely enjoy, sitting here being able to talk to people like for an hour, and that's something, but definitely the driving force now has been like, let's get out of the 9 to 5, because I've been in corporate world for the last 3 years, and it's just like, it's good. It's a good paycheck. Can't complain. And it's not for everybody. And some people it is for, and there's nothing wrong with that.
What makes the world go round is that different people want to do different things, and I think it's awesome whether you want to be a part of the corporate world or not. But for people like us, it's not the move.
No, and it's like, you can only you can only tolerate it so long. I don't know how to and not to be mean about it, but like when you're like wanting to get out and wanting to do something else, like the nuances and like small things of corporate that just don't annoy everyone, like just stick out to you, and you're like, this is maddening, and you want to get more and more branched out. And there's so many different ways of doing it. It's saving up money and then making a jump, doing a side hustle, making a jump, and this could be considered a side hustle too. I mean, it's definitely, the work is there on the side. The work is there.
The work is there on the side. Do you come from a family of entrepreneurs at all, or is there anyone in your family who kind of went the non-traditional route as well that you can kind of ask questions?
Half and half. I mean, my aunt had her own like cleaning business. My dad was just a hard worker, and that's something I can like get installed with him. And he, he's someone who worked hard, and his hard work, like almost like law of attraction type of thing. He's working hard, and that right opportunity came along at the right time where he could join a company at the ground floor as one of their like salespeople. And then eventually he got like part ownership in that. So he just took that jump and was a hard worker and grinded. And he did eventually, I mean, if that counts as entrepreneurship, he was helping run the company, and they eventually sold it, and he retired and stuff like that. So like, there's definitely a little bit, but there's certain things where like, he's way more like work hard, business, grind, 60 hours a week, and he doesn't understand this stuff really much at all. He just knows it's there, obviously, but he's like, I don't know how to do anything.
A lot of times it's just crazy though. It's like it almost like taking it back to like, don't want to have a 9 to 5, but when you don't have a 9 to 5, what you're a lot of times signing up for is a 24/7. So you're on all. I mean, if you're awake, you're doing something. You have something, at least one thing to do in that day that's gonna help move your mission forward, or take the next step in the direction that you're going. So it's kind of crazy that like you almost don't have a day off when you're an entrepreneur or trying to do content creation. You're like always on almost.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely very few days where I'm not
doing
anything. Yeah, and even in those days, I don't know what it is about me. But I almost feel like, oh, what am I haven't done anything.
Yeah. So when you first started, being a festival creator and stuff, obviously, and I've asked this question to other people too, but social media obviously changes over time. The kind of content that you put out, has that changed at all over time, or has your target audience and stuff been the same throughout that process? Has your creative vision changed at all throughout that process?
Yeah, for me, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, it's again, I definitely did a lot of things on my own, a lot of things I messed up on, and the beauty in that is when I have friends now that are like becoming content creators and want to be content creators.
It's a wave now, man.
It is a wave, and I feel like I'm at like the 3-year mark, and it's grown steadily, and there's definitely things I look back on and I could do way better, and I need to do this. Starting this year, I have to start doing it. And for example, like my podcast, I was loving to do that podcast. I love to do it and posted it, but I was horrible at editing. It's not even hard to edit stuff like that. But I just didn't want to do it. The first 40, 50 episodes, I didn't really clip down.
Yeah.
And that's a big gap right there. I mean, that's 50 episodes. That's potentially, if you times that by 7, if you just did one piece of content a day for that, I mean, that's 320 pieces of content, or 5 times 7, 350.
Yeah.
So like, that's a lot of things I wasn't doing there. And I know that's the model, and I just wasn't doing it, and I didn't want to. And, but anyways, to go back to your question, 100% things have changed. I mean, I created Babs Lyfe, and then the idea suddenly morphed into like showing my raving, and then it's kind of like I want to also showcase my life. And we live in a very niche-run social media platforms right now, where you stick to your niche and you stay that way. And that's kind of messed with me too. The last year and a half, it's been really, last year I should say, 2022 is really me trying to figure out what is that right amount of like method for me to like go EDM, but then also showcase a little bit of the other things I do, because that's what I want to do eventually. And I've kind of come to terms with it now. It's taken me a year of fighting it, but like I need to be very niche and like do it, and like almost like
in the early days, especially
10 to 1. Yeah, and almost like 9 to 1 content needs to be all EDM and focus on that. Whereas I wasn't doing that, and I haven't been doing that. The brief periods of time where I did do that, I saw substantial growth, and that should have been my eye-opening. Oh, I did this for 2 months straight. I gained the most followers at that time. I should probably stick with this. And I didn't, and, that's just part of the learning curve of being with yourself and learning these things. But it's definitely evolved over time a lot. Like I said, I mean, I started out just posting videos of the stage, It was just, hey, look, this is Zed's Dead back-to-back Grizz, check it out. And then it turned into, getting on TikTok and doing skits. Then it started to me vlogging, my YouTube show, and I love vlogging now, so that's something I'll never stop doing. Love to do that. And then, and the podcast has always been there, and like I said, that's kind of evolved too. Now I'm doing more content with the podcast. I took a long break, and I don't want to get into that, but like I took a long break to revamp it and like get back in that mojo, get back into the focus, and okay, well, this is what I need to do. When I start up again on this date, boom, 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 these are things I need to do, and I'm going to have to stick with them. So but you live and learn, man. You live and learn. And the beauty is I've found content creator friends along the way, and, sometimes those rough patches, I have a call with them, and they're like, you're only 3 years in, and when I was 3 years in, you're actually ahead of where I was. Or, like hearing that is like very refreshing. I remember one time I was like panicking, and I think all content creators, yourself included, have moments of just doubt where you're like, what
all the time,
am I doing?
every day.
All the time. It's 24/7.
No matter how much you grow, no matter what size you get to, no matter how successful you get, I feel like everyone, if you're a content creator, it's just part of it, man.
it's just part of it. And that's where like the consistency just plays into it so much. And like that's what you really have to develop, is just the discipline and consistency is like the key. But like there have been times where I was just in a full on like, what am I doing, like crisis mode. And I talked to one of the other content creators I'm become very close with, and she was like, how long have you been doing this for? And I told I'm at like 2.5 years right now, coming up on 3. And so this was a while ago, and she was like, you're at 3K followers. She goes, that's exactly where I was at this time. And she's 6 years ahead of me. She's like, I was exactly where you were. You're doing great. And I was like,
Okay.
Or we get off the phone and just being like, oh, I'm so relieved. Like, this is so nice to hear.
Sometimes it is just words of encouragement from others that you're like, all right, I am doing okay. Thank God.
Yeah. As much as you want to, like, rely on yourself, dude, the community and, like, group you have to help you is just so crucial. It is. It really is.
So I guess I have a question because obviously the Babs Lyfe kind of brand. What is Babs Lyfe and what does it mean? Like, why did you just decide to go with that? What is your idea behind it?
Yeah, dude, I love this question. So, I mean, I was thinking of usernames and just, like, what do I want to do and how do I want to come across to people and whatnot. And then Babs Lyfe came into mind, and I was like, and then spelling it, Lyfe, was intentional.
Yeah, what is that?
So that stands for Live Yourself Every Day.
Okay.
And that's what, I'm wearing the hoodie right here, but, like, that is what that stands for. And that's kind of, like, what I want my brand to be about is, like, me showcasing my life, whether it's all raving, whether it's a little bit of everything. I want to show that I'm living myself every day to the best of my ability, and I want that to resonate with other people, and I want them to be able to do that too. I think that's so important as you develop as a person and you go through life. You shouldn't sacrifice yourself for anything, in my opinion. And it's very hard to do, and I've been caught not being where I've realized, wow, I'm not being who I am, and that's what I don't want to happen, and I want to preach that to everybody. I want you to live yourself every day, be proud of it, be happy with who you are. If you like to grind 40 hours a week and then do 20 hours a week on your side hustle, do that. If you want to do 40 hours a week and go home and play video games 5 hours, do that. As long as you're, like, okay and you're content with living yourself and you're not, like, complaining about the other things that you could fix, like, as long as you're just happy with that thing and you're living you should be doing that and be happy with that and go for it.
Yeah, bringing us back to the previous kind of topic that we were on is, like, everyone has different things that they want to do in life. Not everyone wants to do content creation. Not everyone wants to do a side hustle, and not everyone wants to, like, it is okay for certain people, it's honestly the majority of people out there that do want to go home and play video games, do want to have that rest time. All of us need that. It's something I've learned this year is balance and stuff. I used to be nothing but work 24/7. And I'm like, okay, I see the value in taking some time off. But yeah, no matter what you are doing or, sometimes making changes or whatever, I think that's super awesome that, just doing what makes you happy no matter what.
Yeah, and in owning it. That's like the main thing is, like, you're like, I like my friends that I went to high school and college with that I keep in touch with, they know I'm the festival guy. You know what? And at first it kind of bothered me, and then, as I've evolved, it's like, I love it, and this is what I'm doing, and I'm making content around it, and boom, I am passionate about it. And then there's other things, like I said, I want to sprinkle those in because, like, the social platforms make us go niche down, but, like, we as people are just so broad and what we like and what we enjoy, and you should be able to show all those. Now you gotta work with the algorithm a little bit. So you gotta play it, and that's what I'm working out. Hopefully in 2023 I'll have it where it's like, I don't know, I throw out numbers like a 9-to-1 ratio of, like, here's something new, but this is mainly stuff. So yeah.
Awesome. So how does the Babs Lyfe brand tie into your podcast? What kind of topics do you cover?
So live yourself every day, and that is the main point of the podcast. Is I have people on that I find that are interesting, or friends that I think do interesting things, and I just want them to talk about their process, their work ethic, how are they living themselves every day. Is the most simplest way to, like, make it that easy for people to understand. Like, how are you living yourself every day? Now let's talk about it, and let's dive in on, like, how you got started with it. What do you like about it?
So
like,
it's
blah, blah,
really
blah.
not
And,
even like
just,
an I'm sure there's a lot of crossover because you are in the EDM niche, but it's really not even like a show about the dance music industry. It's like, you could have people on, but you can also have people that are outside of that world too.
100%, man. I mean, I've had guests from all walks of life so far. I've been blessed to have that. I've had friends that are having their own business. I've had content creators that are not in the EDM world. I've had content creators in the EDM world. Now, I do want it to tie into the EDM world, so I've always had I have special episodes that are labeled Producer Den episodes, and it's specifically made for producers to come on. But the same concept is there. I'm having them on to discuss their process, how they got started, where they'd like to go, where they'd like to take it, and then just maybe what else makes them happy, because I'm sure they're not just into making music. There's other things out there. So I've done about 9 of those within the 80 or so episodes, and looking to definitely tackle more of those in the future. But definitely. it was, the original concept with the podcast was have guests on to talk, and then have producers on to talk, and then they would put on a mix like on Wednesday. But
cool.
that was just it was like a very gray area. And I was like, I don't think this is, I'm not a label. I can't really like do this. So like that ended up going out the window, and it was just like, you know what? I'm going to just focus on getting guests that I enjoy and having friends on and laughing and just, someone else asked me that recently, and I was like, I honestly just love the podcast. It's not like a specific thing I want to like tie it to. It's just if you like me and you want to hear my thoughts a little bit more, they're there in the podcast for an hour and a half. Yeah.
That's awesome. I also know that, I don't know if you guys are still doing this or not, but you and another festival kind of content creator in our space, Vibe with Aid, have created the Festival Tales podcast. Are you still working on that, or is that still a thing?
Yeah, shout out Aid. No, we unfortunately had to stop doing that. Aid's one of the content creators I've become very close with over the years. She was like the first person ever to reach out to me and say like, you're doing... Actually, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't think of that. She's the first person I reached out to say, how are you doing this? What are you doing? And she gave me all the, here's everything. And I started, that's when I like already wanted to start the page, and she just helped me get it going. And then we didn't talk for like months, and then we just kept in touch, and one thing led to another. But no, we stopped doing that. Not for any specific like bad reason. She was starting her own company, and she really wanted to put effort into that. And I was like, absolutely, that's my eventual goal. Yeah, that's my eventual goal too, and if this is taking away from that, let's do it. She has given me full permission to continue the podcast without her, which I've been debating doing. I needed to take a long break and just figure things out. There's a lot of other outside world things occurring. But so there's a possibility, if I can handle it on my plate, that it could come up again with, it would be the same style.
What is that one about?
So Festival Tales is we have people write into the show anonymously.
Okay.
And they share their festival experiences.
Oh, nice.
It can be any type of experience. We've had silly ones, lovey-dovey stuff, really crazy stories.
Yeah.
We've had disgusting stories about like porta potties and stuff where people are laughing, like all sorts of things.
Dude, if you do start that again, I have a good story to submit for that.
I'm definitely thinking about it. It's been definitely thrown around a lot more recently about doing it. I've had some people reach out and talk about it, and I'm like, dang, I'd want to do it the same way. I loved that it was me and Aid, and so you had a male and female perspective, and then not only that, I'm way more bass head than she is. She's more in the house. Yeah. So it was like two different sides coming together and talking about things, and I definitely loved that mesh of like two different perspectives. So that's something I would look for in a co-host if I was to do it again. Sweet. So it's possible. Awesome. It's possible. I'm not closing the door.
Yeah. Still up in the air about that one. Going back to your corporate life, and working in the corporate world, what were you doing in the corporate world? What was your job?
Yes.
Who were you working for?
So I'm not really going to say who I was working for,
okay.
But I had done not that it's bad or anything, but just I just don't even mention that in my own stuff. So it's just like if I don't have to, I don't have to. But I did sales for the first 2 years, and then the last year and a half to 2 years, I did digital marketing for that same company. And that was like the goal was to always do digital marketing. So it was like a whole like, I really like marketing. I really like social media marketing specifically. I want to go do that for a company. And my thought process was I would learn a lot, and it would also help my creative process and my process. I can't speak for everyone. I can speak for myself and say I quite found the opposite. I felt like I was trying to get the corporate world to do more things like a creator would do, because it's fun and exciting and doing social content. And
it's a lot different running ads and
pushback.
Corporate stuff.
a lot different. And they didn't even really do much ad stuff where I was. And but anyways, they were having me do all the social medias and just in a whole different way. And there's just so many different more like hurdles to go through. And you have executives that are like, well, what if someone interprets your caption this way? And you're like, okay, we could play this game forever, but like I guess I'll change it, and there's just that, and it's just a different side of it that I wasn't prepared for. Glad I learned it, glad I got to see it firsthand, but I don't think I'll ever do digital marketing for a corporate company again. Okay. Because it really drained me too of my creativity. I thought it would
I've
the
heard
whole
that.
time a reason I wanted to do it.
I don't know if you know who Devin Larshid is, but he's down in LA. He does the I'm Peaking pod.
I'm Peaking
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah. I had him on.
I just listened to that episode.
And
I just listened to that.
Yeah,
today.
cool. He was talking about how like it's kind of the same thing that you're saying with the corporate world versus like running like social media stuff for that versus like for like a different company versus like what you can do for yourself. There's such a huge difference there.
It's astronomically different, and you don't think of it because you just don't know, but then when you're in it, you're like, my goodness. And again, I wanted it because I super felt like if I'm doing digital marketing full time during the day and at home, it's going to help propel my creativity, my way of doing things, and it did the exact opposite. I would come home drained because it's like I'm putting creative effort now into this company that isn't even mine, and I come home and I'm like, I don't really want to shoot a video today.
I did this all day pretty much.
Yeah. So I'll be going back to sales soon.
With your college degree, first of all, where'd you go to college?
I went to Florida State University,
cool. And that was in marketing. So I have an associate's in marketing right now,
nice.
But I've learned maybe it's different in the bachelor program or whatever. But at least with what I've experienced with the marketing degree that I have, it didn't teach me jack shit about social media. No. Yeah, like why is there a marketing degree? With, like, what?
I mean, it's just, no. Didn't have one class. Another. I swear on my life, I took a digital marketing class at Florida State because I was like, that's the side I want to go into. They're going to teach me about this. The first half of this class was learning about the internet and the components of a computer.
How the fuck is that going to help me?
I was dying. Looking back at it, I cracked up at that. And then I took another... Oh, and there's the kicker of that. That class was not even in the business school. It was in, like, the art school. What? It was in, like, the communications. It made no sense. I was like, wait a minute. This has to do with marketing. It literally says, like, digital marketing.
What the hell?
and then it pertained to nothing. Yeah, I mean, I was someone who did not want to go to college. I had to be talked into going from my parents, and they succeeded, and I went. And to this day, I'm like, biggest waste of money. For me, not for everybody. There's definitely people that like need that structure to get something, to get them a job. 100% understandable. Absolutely. I think I would have worked hard and figured something out like I'm doing now anyways. So it's like, it's just like, to each his own. You got to kind of, again, that comes like learning yourself and living yourself. Like, you got to learn it and do it. And I mean, again, I did it for my parents. Got it. Great. Helped me get a job.
Now you're
done. Get some
Yeah.
capital, and like, we're good. But yeah, it's so funny. Yeah, I learned nothing.
Literally nothing. Yeah, I was like, why do I have a marketing degree? I've learned more just by doing and putting into practice and trying, experimenting and shit than I have. I don't need like teach me how to run a freaking social media platform. Teach me what Instagram is. That would make sense.
That would make sense. Yeah, and it's so crazy that you can learn so much more out on your own, especially nowadays with the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not the best at like going on YouTube and looking up things, but like you
just
can learn
watch
a lot.
Other people do what they do.
Ton. Yeah. Watching people do what they do. I mean, there's free courses on Google. You can take if you want to pay for a course, you can pay for a 4-week course through colleges now that are online. I'm sure it's better than it was 4 years ago. But, there's so many avenues out there for you to learn and be able to do it on your own. I mean, you just need the certificate for if you want to learn Google Ads, it's free on Google. They have a way to do it, and you get a certificate and everything. And I don't know how long it would take, but you could do it.
Yeah, learn it,
and then run your own business from there.
Yep, yeah. Well, that's
crazy.
Like one of the if you paid ads. That's definitely, especially for like a personal content creation and stuff. That's the way to go. So during this whole time of the last couple of years and stuff, what would you say has been like your biggest hurdle to get over?
Oh, dude, that's so funny. Myself, to be honest,
getting in your own way.
Literally getting in my own way. I mean, again, just. There's so many things I look back on. Again, I've learned them now, and I can help my friends get better, and they can start at a better place than I was. So I've become a teacher in it, I guess, right? And I'm thankful for that and being able to do that. But definitely getting in my own way, 100%. Whether it's overthinking content, whether it's not sticking to, the not being disciplined enough to stick to like my scheduling ideas, my platform, like, hey, we're going to film on Monday, we're going to post this, we're going to schedule for this week, however that is, whatever routine you have. I very quickly can fall out of it, and that's where I become my biggest hurdle. It's like it's literally like all up here. Like I just gotta like.
What tools have you used? Are you like a person who uses a calendar on a daily basis to keep yourself organized, or what like organizational tools have you adapted?
Yeah. My organization has always been atrocious. It's so bad that like, and again, I can admit it, and then the second I start using a calendar and like looking at it every day and blah blah blah, like it's night and day. Like I'm on top of things again, and so the calendar for me is very big. It's very big, and I know that. And if like I should have known that going like in college. It's so weird to think that like in college I was using a calendar, but I like I remember like I would sit at the beginning of every semester. I'd open my calendar up and I would be like, okay, exam here, exam here, exam here. Then I'd put like a week before the exam, hey, exam next week, start studying, like whatever it was, and I would just plan that all out, and then I knew. One, I was on top of it. Two, then I could know like when I couldn't and couldn't work because I worked all through college too. I didn't just
Dude, I've had a job. I've pretty much had a job since I was like 16, so I feel that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, with you there. My parents like, oh, you're done playing sports.
Time to work.
Go to work.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, literally. So like, but yeah, and I was so organized and on top of things then, and it just didn't transfer when I first went to corporate world. And that's like a learning curve because you just don't think like, because no one sits and tells you like, hey, you got to figure your life out and like still stay organized after college. It literally like most parents, most people like you get a degree, you get a job, you're good. You're like, no, there's like so many more steps with that. Like, yeah, like even if you have a job, you need to be organized at that job. Like, so for me, it 100%. And for me, it also starts at like the beginning. If I set the tone at the beginning, I'll meet that tone every time. But if I have a lackadaisical tone and it'll get done, it can get done whenever, I will carry that on. That's going to be harder to break. So yeah, for me, it's getting out of my own way, being organized, and and just being busy too. I mean, I'm somebody who, if I have too much free time, things will start slipping through the cracks.
Dude, yeah.
I'd rather.
Yes, I took three classes while I was getting my associates during the summer. So that's like more than a full load during the summer.
That's a big
I took like
I did that too. That was
9
horrible.
units, but because it was so crazy, that's the only time in my entire life that I got straight A's.
That's awesome. I
perform so much better under pressure, and I have like a busy schedule.
I don't understand what that is with me, and I was struggling with that at my last job where I just felt like I had so much free time, and then because of that, I might be late on a deadline, but then it would carry on out of work where I'm like, I've got all the time in the world to do this editing, and I just I pushed it back a week. Oh no, you know what I mean? And when I'm on top of it, it's like, hey, this has to be done today. Okay, I gotta do it. Like when I'm busy, I'm sorry. When I'm busy, it's like
you don't have time to put it off.
You either do it now, if you put it off, it's gonna be a month. You don't have a choice. So it's like, okay, I gotta do it today. And it's way better for me. And I've realized that, and now I'm like really trying to stay busy.
What do you think causes not only you but people just in general to get in their own way? Like, what do you think, if you were to like think about what causes that for a lot of people, what would you say it was?
Not to sound cliched, like on brand, but like you maybe don't know yourself like that. And, you know what I mean? Like you might be doing things that are like affecting you, and like perfect example, like for me, I'll give you this example with college. I'm not someone who I couldn't just study the night before on majority of my classes. There's no way. I had to, if I wanted to get good grades, I was somebody who had to know that a week in advance of the exam, start studying on day 7 before the exam. And it might not be like crazy, but there's something. Read a chapter. Start looking at it. And then by like day 5 is when I start hammering the notes hard. And I would do like 2 or 3 days of notes and then 2 days of studying and get the A. I learned that. But I learned it the hard way, but I learned it at least. And then I know other people who, went through their 4 years and struggled all 4 years because they didn't know how to study, didn't know what to do, didn't know what worked for them. And they might have got it their last semester, but they got it finally. But like, that's what I think it is. You got to learn what works for you, because we're all different. We're all unique. Just because I have to study a week in advance doesn't mean you do. Doesn't mean Jimmy does down the street. Like, there's something. There's just something you learn about yourself. Like, I have to do things this way, not because I'm like being weird and stingy. Because like, if I don't, it's not going to work for me.
Has there ever been a specific time where you maybe push something out, or maybe rescheduled, or you got in your own way and something kind of significant happen that you regret?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, I think this past year has been one where I struggled with that personally, and I can definitely admit that now. I didn't know what, there's a slew of reasons, but I just didn't realize it until later, and it definitely, I think, postponed my growth a little bit more. Not that I'm in like a bad position or anything, but just, yeah, I wasn't editing the podcast as much. Wasn't even doing the podcast as much. I just put it on the back burner. Was trying to focus more on content. The big one's vlogs. If I vlog a festival, it needs to be out that week, like the week after. And if it waits, it's gonna waffle.
Well, no one cares. Yeah.
It might, yeah, it might still be good to put up, but like to get that exposure and whatnot is just irrelevant at that point. If you don't get it within literally the first 5 days. Yeah, a week's generous, to be really honest with you. Like, you need to get it in 5 days. I'll tell you a funny story. One of the first vlogs I ever wanted to do, so it was Millennium Trilogy weekend in Vegas, and I told myself, I am going to vlog this weekend. This is the first weekend on my YouTube channel going up. I'm doing it. And, like, it was so awkward it was so awkward for me to have that GoPro and be, like, in Vegas. Like, we're out on the strip. And I would look back at the videos and just be like,
cringe.
This is so cringe. It's so bad it's never seen the light of day.
Funny.
And like, and then the funniest part of that whole trip was we went hiking in Zion, and I was like, I'm gonna vlog this hike, and I was pulling it out more, like I was getting more accustomed to it and like doing it, and I was so certain I had enough footage to do a vlog. and I went in when I got home, and I went to go edit it, and I only had 3 minutes.
This is not enough.
From the whole
Oh my gosh.
From the whole hike, I mean. And I was like, I cannot believe this. So it's definitely, and everyone's different. Some people can just pick it up and go. I'm someone who like had to get used to being and overcome that like fear of like I'm in public talking to
that's
a
the other
camera.
thing.
And like that's something you got to get over. And like just again, like that's something you just learn and as you just go through it. And like I after that, my first vlog that came out was, so Millennium Trilogy was like July, but my first vlog that was posted was Izu in September. So it took about 2 months to get that like better. And even that first vlog is not the best. And they just slowly get better because you start to learn like, hey, I should be telling this, I should be doing this. We'll get into it, but it's fun. It's fun. Sorry if I
looks
fun.
fun.
If I can cuss or not, but that's fun. It's fun.
You can definitely swear at the podcast. Couple last questions before we kind of wrap up here. But what would you advise someone who listens to your show or listens to our voice right now and sees what you're doing, sees what I'm doing, and wants to maybe start their own vlog or start their own podcast or their own social media page? What would your advice to those people be?
Yeah, you just got to do it. And that's so cliche to say, but it's also so hard. I mean, I'm my biggest worst enemy when it comes to this stuff. I've always been a very slow mover in everything. I was slow when I started. It took me from the day I started my page to, a couple months to start posting every day. Then when I started the podcast, it took me, I wanted to start the podcast the same day I started the page. But it took me 3 months to record my first episode, and then another month to do the next one. So, like, I was always against myself of just, like, you just got to start doing it and getting the reps, and it's slowly going to get better and better and better. But I was always, again, I was slow at vlogging. I was slow at getting onto TikTok. I'm my worst enemy, and it's because I get, like, I'm a little nervous about doing it. I'm a little nervous about doing that. And it's like, do you want it or not? Do you want to live? Like, and again, like, goes back to this, and like, when eventually it hits me, I'm like, oh wait, I'm not living myself every day because I want to do these things, and I'm like withholding it, so I need to go do that. And then the other thing is, the same type of things that my pitfalls: organization, discipline. I can with 100% say without a doubt, when I'm disciplined and when I am on a consistent schedule of posting and making content, it shows. Whether you look at Again, don't get caught up in the analytics. For real, like, if you're really doing it, don't get caught up. But, like, it does, I can see the difference of I'm in right now and it's working versus I'm just going to be here every once in a while. Like, there's a big difference.
Has your discipline gotten improved at all since, like, before you were doing any of this?
Yes and no. Yeah. I can say in other areas of my life it has. Like I've really took like to heart about going to the gym more and like stuff like that, and I've been very good about that. And I think it's slowly starting to bleed into this now more, because I've gotten like a system kind of in place to start doing things a bit more and here and there. And the other thing that is a very big bump in the road that I don't think people account for much is a lot of like changes in your life.
Yes.
It can just, in any category, can cause a disruption. You get a new job, so now you have a potentially new schedule or new workload, and it might mess with you in that sense. You move, you break up, you get a new girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it might, like all these small things affect you. And I think what is super important and what I have learned literally within the last 3 months is that like you need to set what you want for yourself, set your goal, set the things that you want to do, and then let's say you want to reach 10,000 followers within a year. Just say that's right. So you put your goal 10,000 followers, right? And that's great to have that goal there, but you might also need to know what are these. You need to write underneath it. What am I going to do to get that? Because I can say 10,000
steps. Yeah.
Yes, and when you write those actionable steps down, it really helps you start to visualize what needs to be done to get there. And that's something I literally have just started doing. It took me 3 years to get there, but like I've just figured that out, and it's a big change. And but that's crucial too, very crucial, in getting that goal to be achievable. Because you can start breaking it down. You can, okay, if I post every day, I need to be getting, whatever it is, 50 followers a week, whatever it is. I'm obviously paraphrasing. I'm not doing the math, but but yeah.
Yeah, 10. Especially if you're just starting out, to get 10,000 in a year, that's, in my opinion, that's damn near impossible. But if you're just starting, I mean, it does happen depending on certain factors. But if you're just like, if you're brand new, like 10,000 is a ton in a year.
And another piece of advice for brand new people, and something that people have told me this, and I still don't think about it sometimes, but social media, Gary Vee says it all the time, and he's 100% right, but social media is a long game. It just, and even I forget that. I'm 3 years in, I've grown to 6,000 followers, I've got 5,000 on TikTok, I've got 6,000 on Instagram, I just started the YouTube, it's slowly moving, I'm almost at 400 subs, it's slow moving. Yes, there are some people with this overnight success, and like it happens. But like if you can just be consistent and keep doing it, and yes, you might hit a bump in the road here and there. Like I've said, I hit a bump in the road for a month or something. Like it happens. Don't beat yourself up, but get back on that train, get back up on that horse, hammer it out again, and it's gonna keep paying off. But it is a long game for the majority of people in it. It's a long game. The majority.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we're going to start wrapping up because we're almost at an hour now. But couple last questions. What is next for you? I know we've been talking about getting more disciplined and getting more on your shit going into, or we are in the new year now, January. Yes. But what are like, what would you say like the three top things that are your three top goals that you have for this year in specific?
You're putting me on the spot here. For me, the podcast. I want my podcast to get back going. I loved doing that, and I really strayed away from that. Again, talk about finding the thing you like doing. I started the podcast. The original Babs Lyfe was just like to go with the podcast. I really wanted to focus on the podcast. Then I stopped doing the podcast, focused on content. I love doing the podcast. I need to focus on the podcast and growing that. And you just talked about getting help with that. That's where I'm going to start looking for getting an editor, helping with a producer, something of that nature. That's the big first step, and I've already got that kind of lined up. So we'll discuss that off air. But like getting that going, and I want to evolve my content more. I've been racking my brain the last few weeks. Haven't posted as much on TikTok and stuff. Just trying to rack my brain on what content I want to put out there. I want to be talking more. I love doing the skits. I can do those day in and day out, but I need to start talking on camera and talking to people. And again, that's just another animal to another hill to climb. I'm working on that as well, and that's why I want to evolve my content into more than just funny skits and stuff. Which granted they're fun, but
see, I've never been
so
into the skits type. I don't think I've never even posted one. I've never even made one. I've made like funny reels here and there, but like I don't know, it's not my thing. I give people a lot of credit 'cause I know there's a lot of EDM influencers that do that, and I know they work.
It works. It's a little cringy, but like you want to have a good balance, and I think again, I consider myself. I've said it before. The whole podcast. I'm very slow moving. I got onto TikTok. I only did skits really. I've been only doing skits, and that's people come to my page. They only see skits. All right, I got to start incorporating other things about EDM culture and stuff that I like and want to talk about, and occasionally clips from the podcast because it does semi-revolve around EDM. A lot of the main guests are like EDM influencers or somewhere in the scene. Then we just end up talking about more things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Awesome. Normally I ask the same question, or if you had any questions for me, but I'm about to go hop on your show. So for the people who are listening right now, go listen to that episode for his questions to me. But the last couple questions, where can the listeners find you and support you? How can they support you?
It is at Babs_Life on all socials. I think YouTube is Babs Lyfe, and then the podcast is Babs Lyfe, the Babs Lyfe Podcast, spelled Lyfe. So,
final question: if there's one piece of advice you could tell yourself when you first started your online presence and content creation and stuff, what would that be?
Get on camera. Get on camera early. Took me way too long to do that. Took me way too long.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for your time and for being on my show. For the people who want to continue listening to us talk, go head over to Babs Lyfe Podcast, and I'll be on there for the new episode as well.
Dude, thank you for having me. I love this. This is awesome. Hope we can do it again.